I am a great, soft jelly thing, smoothly rounded with pulsing white holes filled by fog where my eyes used to be, rubbery appendages that were once my arms, bulks rounding down into legless humps of soft, slippery matter. Blotches of diseased, evil gray come and go on my surface as though light is beamed from within. I have no mouth, and I must scream.
Let me start off by saying that a lot of people feel various ways about Harlan Ellison and his works, and that's completely valid. I'm looking at the 1995 cult classic game under the same name as his probably most known stories, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, by the Dreamers Guild for MS-DOS, Mac OS, and then released in 2013 for PC, OS X, and Linux, and 2016 for mobile. There will be spoilers here, as to tell the story and gameplay features, the story will have to come up. Usually I try to avoid spoilers, but here I may spoil something. But even if I spoil something, I will say that this game is an experience that you have to have. I went into this completely blind, only knowing about it from reading a bit of the book, the short story of the same name, and seeing clips and other videos. Unlike games like Fallout, Metro, or Fallen Earth, just to name a few, we are not the sole survivor, wanderer, or any super badass out there that's out of bubblegum surrounded by other humans or other things trying to survive. Overall, it took me about 9.5 hours to finish this game, and I had to go back and replay the game from almost the beginning, and I had to restart a couple times, so that's why it took 9.5 hours. If you want a great breakdown of the whole concept of the book, I recommend watching Ryan Hollinger's video. He does a great breakdown about it. He really breaks down the time, the era, the overarching themes of this very grim outlook on sci-fi, and I'll link it in the description, and it will be on screen as I talk. The story is set in the post-apocalyptic future, 109 years after humans have been wiped out by a Cold War turned World War. Humans created the Allied Master Computer, or AM, that becomes self-aware, unleashes mass genocide, leaving behind 5 people to torture for all time without the hope of a true death. You go through each character and find out the trauma of their past, and looking for a way to find a true death and get away from AM and stop AM. We have 5 people, 5 protagonists, but you're always alone, no matter what. Even in the simulations, you are always alone, because you know that the other things, I say things, are not human. There's never relief of being with others, just desolation, and the AM puts you in, and you really feel it. There are a lot more twists, but I only want to spoil a little bit, not a lot, not the whole game. The main theme that's really never brought up, but it's referenced all the time, and it's the reason we have our protagonist, AM, A-M. It's the phrase, cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. Again, if you really want an interesting breakdown, Ryan has a fantastic video, and I recommend you go watch it. I'm just going to cover the game, not the content of the book and the theories behind it. So this is one that I've always wanted a physical copy for, but at the time of writing, there's only 2 on eBay and both are over $500, and I'm just not gonna do that. You can easily pick up a copy on GOG, or Good Old Games, if you don't know what it is, for about $7.79 pending your area, or you could emulate it as well. There's plenty of copies on abandonware sites. You know, not that I say you should emulate things, but I'm not saying you shouldn't emulate things, especially when physical copies are $500. So this game covers some serious themes, even for today's time, like Ellen's confronting a repressed sexual assault and dealing with the triggers, to Dr. Nimdok's Nazi experimentations on people, and the other 3 stories. This is a dark game, and not just an overall tone, but a subject matter as well. I will always love the DOS 16-bit, 8-bit style games, or just that era, the NES games as well. This is a style that really just never gets old. Look at some of the other games of the era, like Link to the Past, Wing Commander, Earthbound, Sonic, Mario. It's a style that's still being produced today and being replicated today, Kathy Rain, Heroine's Quest Ragnarok, Hotline Miami, Dead Cells, Titan Souls. Like, there's so many out there. Undead, I think. Oh, is that the name of the game? I can't remember. This is pretty much right in that sweet spot and still looks good. Not great, but good. The animations can be a little weird and a little off-putting. At certain times, I ran across this bug, and it was only one time I did the story, where Benny, he is the Neanderthal-looking one, and that's not an insult, he literally looks like a Neanderthal. He would walk backwards, and I couldn't get him to walk forwards again normally, but the next time I replayed, the area was fine, so I don't know what that little thing was about. There's a little portrait on the bottom that has some animations as well, but you never really pay attention to them because usually the animations happen so fast that you're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. The only thing you really pay attention to is how green that little portrait box gets. The greener, the better the ending you will have, until you do everything right and it turns white at the end. There are 5 different environments with multiple areas or screens in each, well, give or take 5. And everyone is detailed, even if you're only there for a few seconds, like in the case of Ellen when she has to go confront the Sphinx kind of creature. You're only there for a few seconds, but it's detailed, even though the animation is a little weird when she walks right through the Sphinx to get to the cup. It's interesting. So this game falls into my favorite genre of games. Point and click. I'm boring like that. I love FPS games, but there's something just so rewarding about figuring out a point and click game. Most of the puzzles are straightforward in context of the situation you're dealing with, although I did get stumped a fair few times, and not knowing you had to maybe go back and interact with things more than once, it's definitely a bummer when you find that out at the end. While it seems easy, I would definitely recommend a walkthrough here. So much can go wrong, or you can miss something or do something out of order that you don't even know. It'll lead to a bad ending, and it never tells you if you're doing it wrong or right. So definitely a walkthrough here. While most stuff is straightforward, there are some puzzles that defy logic sometimes, or some that try to trick you with weird wording. I also feel like this game has a variation on what commands mean. Like, I gave one character the command to walk to a door, and they would go through the door. But another one, I would have to make them use the door to go through the door. So I don't know if that was just the person, the situation, or something, but it was like, okay, I guess this is the thing now. Some of the audio mixing could and should be reworked here. I left it on the default settings for audio, SFX, and all that stuff. And the music and sometimes the sound effects just smash right over the dialogue. More often than not, everything is at a good level, but there's some moments like when Ellen is talking to the computer in her scenario that you just can't hear what they're saying at all.
Can you point out some essential component of
Impossible. Too spread out, filling the whole center of a planet. Too protected by replicating backup systems.
If it wasn't for subtitles, then I'd have no idea what they said. Yes, I know I could have turned down the audio and boosted the vocal, but for the reason that I leave most games at their preset is this is what the devs programmed them at. This is what the devs set the defaults to be at. So I want to see if their suggestion is the best suggestion, and if they did it right, and if they actually listened back and see if it was perfect. Harlan Ellison himself, the writer, the man, plays Am, and it's a good side of cheesy and creepy. The other voice work is pretty well done as well. There's a good mix of jokes and emotion thrown in, and a lot of very 90s stuff. Although I will have to say I have no idea what's wrong with Dr. Nimdok. I don't know if it was a German person doing the VO and had trouble reading the script, or if it was an English-speaking actor doing an accent but overpronouncing the script. It's just, something's not right about it. It's just a little too slow and a little too, just something about it. If you play the game, you know exactly what I mean. That would be my only gripe for the audio here. The background ambience was hardly noticed, which is perfect. It shouldn't be in the way. But it totally sets the mood and theme for the entire game and every situation you're in. So this was a lot darker than I thought it would be, to be honest. It's not a jump scare kind of game, thank God. And truthfully, I don't know if it really be classified as a horror game, even though it does have horror elements and the story is like a sci-fi horror kind of story. The dark themes and subject matters really threw me for a loop, as for me, the short story doesn't feel like it really gets that deep into it as the game did. Or maybe this is just me as a gamer getting more in depth with the game, or the game and the studio being able to take certain liberties with the source material. Again, would recommend a walkthrough for this game. I used Walkthrough King. I'll link it in the... what's that little thing under me? The description box? There we go. No, yes. I'll link it in the description box. You can complete all situations thinking you've done everything right, but at the end you may not have the totems you need to finish the game, and unless you did multiple saves to fall back on, you'll be stuck, and you'll be unable to actually finish the game or get the best ending. There's 3 endings to this game. Good, better, best. Well, not good. Good, best and bad ending. It's actually really frustrating to get to the end game and then be told by Googling it that I did not have the totem I needed to complete. It almost made me walk away from the game, but it has such a good story that I could not finish it, You ever had a game like that where it's so frustrating, but it's so good that you gotta play it? It's a good thing I did multiple saves, so I just went back to an early save and restarted there instead of right from the beginning. So it increased my playtime to 9.5 hours. It led me to 2 different game endings and a few different scenario endings before I grabbed the walkthrough. The game looks like it can be done in about 3 to 4 hours if you know what you're doing. There's a lot of replayability in the game as well. Like I said, there's 3 endings, and not only that, there's multiple endings to the scenarios themselves. So 5 characters, multiple endings. There's a lot to do here, but you're only going to get 3 endings no matter what you do. So there's a few more hours to be had in the game if you really want to search it out. And I only got 2 endings because I messed up, went back to an earlier save, fixed what I did, and then I got the ending, the good ending. I got the bad ending before. Truly, this game was everything I thought it would be from hearing about it for years. It came out in 95. I was born in 93. So I heard about it when I was really young because, I don't know, it stirred up a bit of controversy. And now I finally got to play it 25 years later, or how old is it? 23 years, 24, whatever, I can't do math, years later. And it's like, okay. It's one of those games you just gotta experience, like I said. It's an experience, and I had a good time, even though I had to retrace and restart and replay a few areas. Thank God I had the foresight to do separate saves for every person. It saved me a bit of time. I tend to do that with old DOS games, or old games, is I make multiple saves at various sections and do steps. I even do it with modern games like The Witcher. I'll do saves in certain areas because I know I might need to go back and play this area. It's a mature game, and it takes a mature mind to really understand some of the things that are being covered in the subject matter. That does not mean that everybody cannot play it, it just means you might appreciate it more if you sit and you think about what's being covered. The book, and by extension this game, is very much a product of its time. It's an ultimate, but what if this happened kind of situation. It presents an alternate future where we had World War III, built a computer that's a master computer, deems humans bad or inefficient, takes over, killing us all. We've seen this future in many sci-fi games, movies. iRobot comes to mind immediately, so it's not like this will be a groundbreaking, mind-bending experience. There's still something to be had, and there's something more of a feeling you get when you're playing it. It's utterly dark, depressing, and hopeless in tone, with so many ways that things can end and scenarios and things that can go wrong, but it still compels you to move forward and find out what's afflicting these characters, why they were chosen, and what happened to humanity. Overall, I would say, if you can, or if you want to, definitely go out and play this game. It is an experience, and it's one to check off your gaming list. It's definitely in those you gotta play it at least once kind of games.